Shall we begin?
Let's begin indeed. Hi, this is MadSkillzzTV, and in this video I will show you how to become a Resto Druid. I will cover the basics. It's not an advanced tutorial. I am assuming basically that you have reached level 100 and you're about to start raiding. You can skip to any other section in the guide by using the annotations in the bottom left hand corner. We will begin by looking at the most optimal Restoration Druid talents. This is what a typical Restoration Druid talent tree might look like. There is a big debate between which talents to pick for level 60 and level 90, but I will cover them separately in the next few seconds. Now let's first look at the level 15 talents. Here one of the best selections, in my opinion, is the Displacer Beast. It basically is a blink. Some people might prefer picking up the Fairline Swiftness, which basically provides a base 15% movement increase, which might be better for fights where there's not a lot of use for a blink. For level 30 talents, Ysar's Gift is the main choice here. A lot of people pick it mainly because it is a passive ability which requires nothing additional from the user, and it can heal for considerable amounts. Other two talents might be a worthy choice for PvP, but this guide is only covering PvE. Level 45 talent is mainly a utility talent which focuses on CC. The best choice here would be the pushback known as a Typhoon. It can be used in specific fights such as the Blast Furnace to position mobs in a specific order. This would be the best choice here. Level 60 talent is a little bit trickier. For new players, I would definitely recommend Incarnation Tree of Life. This basically provides you a really valuable healing cooldown, which can be also used as mana conservation tool, because one of its advantages is that it enables a 50% more powerful rejuvenation. It also reduces mana cost by 30%, so you can spam rejuvenation and save mana. Also, one of the main abilities for the Tree of Life is that it also adds 2 additional targets to your wild growths. It's a 3-minute cooldown. If you use it correctly and if you know the fight, it can be very powerful. Another very solid choice for more advanced players would be the Soul of the Forest, which basically adds 50% stronger wild growths, which has to synchronize with the way you use your Swiftment. But as this guide is a simple basic starting guide, I would definitely advise new players to start with the Tree of Life. Level 75 talent is also another utility talent that is available for druids. In here, the best choice I would say is the Ursol's Vortex, which is basically a targetable ability in the shape of a circle that can be placed anywhere within 40-yard range that slows down enemies by 50%. It is also very powerful because once the enemy tries to leave the circle, they get sucked back in. Other options here are also very valid, such as the Bash and the Roar, but they require a bit more maneuverability and movement to actually pull them off. So here the easiest talent and probably the most effective I would say is the Vortex. Level 90 is another very difficult talent to choose. For new players I would definitely recommend Nature's Vigil, which is a 1.5 minute cooldown, which you just press and all of your silken target healing will also deal damage to the boss and heal other players around it. So it's very easy to manage. Dream of Cenarius combined with the Soul of the Forest can be very potent. Dream of Cenarius basically converts all your rat damage into healing. You cannot control the healing. It is a mana saving tool and you need to practice to actually make use of it. I would not recommend this for the new players. Heart of the Wild is another option that you could also pick. It is a 6-minute cooldown, so most likely you will only get 1 cast during a boss fight. But what it does is basically increases healing by 35% for a whopping 45 seconds. So if the fight is 6 minutes or anything below that, I would actually pick Heart of the Wild. The main choices here, Heart of the Wild or Nature Vigil, based on your choice. Level 100 talent I feel belongs only to the Germination. Germination is basically a second rejuvenation, and it also increases rejuvenation duration by 3 seconds. Having a second rejuvenation might sound amazing, but it's not that great. It's great to place it on tanks and on people who are going to take increased damage for periods of time. People who have debuffs, basically. The 3-second duration is what makes this talent so great. The other choices here would probably be Moment of Clarity, which basically allows you to free cast Regrowth for 7 seconds. But there is too much RNG involved here. Some people can pull it off. I don't enjoy the RNG. I'll stick with Germination for now, and I advise you to do the same. Let's have a look at glyphs now. So this is what a glyph page might look like. There isn't really that much choice for good glyphs that are available for Restoration Druids. Let's have a look at some of the major glyphs. Glyph of Regrowth is one of the mandatory glyphs that you should have that basically increases the critical chance by 40% and removes its hot component. Therefore, it's making it a guaranteed critical chance, and therefore it also procs Living Seed. Another glyph that's also going to increase your HPS is the Glyph of Wild Growth, which adds Wild Growth effect to an additional target, but increases cooldown by 2 seconds. Overall, this is a HPS increase. The third glyph is optional, and I would choose between the Glyph of Stampeding Roar or the Glyph of Rebirth. Glyph of Rebirth is very useful if you are always the main guide to rest people. Glyph of Stampeding Roar is great if you use Stampeding Roar. If you don't use it enough, it is not worth it picking it up. For minor glyphs, there is really only one mandatory minor glyph that you should always pick it up. It's the Glyph of the Sprouting Mushroom, which basically allows you to place Wild Mushroom anywhere instead of having to target a specific person and placing Wild Mushroom underneath them. You can just manipulate its location. Wild Mushroom is a great tool, which is basically only bounded by its location. So having this glyph really helps out in a lot of the bosses. It's definitely one of the better, or one of the best minor glyphs you can get. Let's have a look at Enchants and Gems that are available to a Druid. This is the stat priority that you should follow. Haste and Mastery are two best stats. They're very close to each other. Haste is a little bit better just of how it scales. If you are running out of mana, Mastery can become a little bit better. But in here you see Spirit is number 7. This is only assuming that you have enough Spirit to last the fight. If you're a new player who's only going to learn how to heal and learning new encounters, I would place Spirit as your second stat. You should get as much Spirit as you can until you feel that you don't need more mana. From me playing Restoration Druids and other healers, I found out that Druids are probably most mana inefficient healers that there are in the game right now. They don't really have anything that gives them mana back. They only have clear casting, which allows one free regrowth to be cast. So I would put in a lot of emphasis into getting enough Spirit and then stacking for Haste and Mastery. And then all the other stats don't really matter as much. Let's look at some of the available enchants. You should be happy to know that there's only 5 things that you need to enchant in Warlords of Draenor. So there's only the neck, 2 rings, cloak, and a weapon slots that are able to be enchanted. Because haste is our best stat, you can enchant all of these with haste enchants, which probably the best version is the Gift of Haste. For weapon, I would advise to choose Mark of the Shadow Moon, which grants you 500 Spirit for 15 seconds. There's also an option to pick up the Haste enchant for a weapon, but I wouldn't really do that because it is again an RNG proc that you can't really rely on, and you probably will be looking for more Spirit at this time. For gems, there's really only one valid option, which is the Greater Haste Taladite, which gives you 50 haste. Now, if you are choosing between which stat to get and prioritize, for new players I would definitely suggest to start with a lot of Spirit. I would aim towards something between 1500 to, if you can, 1500 to 2000 Spirit. This is for starting to endgame rating. if picking up some spirit trinkets will really help out, and you'll notice you reach some point where you find that you don't need the mana, or you finish the fight at 0% mana, which is something that you should do every time. You should not be saving mana for the fight. You should ensure that you just have enough mana. This might be a struggle at the start, but once you play a bit more, once you start killing bosses, you'll get to the routine to know exactly when to use, how many spells to use, when to use the cooldowns, and how to manage your mana better. So let's have a look at the Restoration Druid's spell and attribute priority. If you're starting to heal as a druid, there is a simple rotation, quotation marks, rotation that you can follow. Number 1 is keeping your mastery up at 100% of the time. Your mastery is called Harmony, which basically provides a buff to all of your healing, and this buff itself gets refreshed by single target healing. It does not get refreshed by Swift Mend. So make sure to cast Regrowth or Healing Touch once in 20 seconds basically to keep this at 100% of the time. This is your number 1 priority as a Restoration Druid. Number 2 priority is to keep your Life Bloom at tank at all times. So Life Bloom is a tank hot that heals a person over 15 seconds. What's cool about it is that it has a 4% chance to proc clear casting, which causes you to enter a clear casting state, causing your next regrowth to be free, which is basically a way to get mana. This is your number 2 priority, and you should always keep Life Bloom and Harmony as close as to 100% uptime as possible. Priority number 3, find the time to use Wild Mushroom. Wild Mushroom is incredibly mana efficient if it's used for its full duration. The hardest thing about it is that the time that it takes to find when to use it. You have to have a minimum of 3 players standing in it to actually get the full potential out of it. 3 players does not sound that much. In 5-man content it's a lot harder to achieve, but in raids this should not be a big problem. Unless there's a raid or a boss that involves heavy movement, then you should always practice and just observe time periods where there is no movement and where Wild Mushroom could be utilized to its full potential. Don't forget, Wild Mushroom can be one of your top heals if it's used properly. So find the time to utilize it. Priority number 4 is utilizing your cooldowns. Druids have quite a few cooldowns in their arsenal. We have the tree. The tree is a very cool 3-minute cooldown, which can also be used as a mana saving tool because it reduces the mana cost of rejuvenation. You also have a tank cooldown, Ironbark, which has only a 1-minute cooldown, which can be used a lot. And I wouldn't really save it for specific times. I would actually use it throughout the whole fight because it is very short cooldown. And then Druids have this awesome, most amazing raid cooldown called Tranquility. It is one of the best raid cooldowns out there at the moment, and it can heal for an awful lot. This should be used during heavy raid damage. It should probably be called by your raid leader, or you should probably use it if the raid gets really low. Like I mentioned, it's a 3-minute cooldown. In the clip here, I'll show you how I use my Tranquility. I was doing LF4, so it's not a best example of how to use it, but my raid frames actually turn green to indicate if the person is actually being healed by Tranquility, because you'll find that the most difficult thing is to actually reach everyone during the stage. So I hope you actually enjoyed my 15 or 12-minute guide. I thought it might be a bit shorter. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you liked it, please like it. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe, and if you have any feedback, please comment. Thank you, and I'll see you in the future.